Hey everybody, we are live here with my friend Brent Abel. Brent, it's a pleasure to have you on to talk about doubles point analysis, to analyze points, which is very, very popular. You know, we have so many doubles players here, and we want to learn from a master like Brent. So, Brent, how are you doing?
Never better, Maribon. I got to tell you, I feel a little spoiled out here in the California desert, Rancho Mirage. Another beautiful day on tap. I got 10 grass courts out there waiting just to be, played on. And so another great day out here in the desert, and always an honor to be on with you, man. I mean, you're one of the hardest working guys out there in the tennis industry online. So big congrats on what you're doing with the summit.
Thank you, Brent. You're too kind. And same with you. Speaking of hard work, you know, before we started chatting, you had informed me, which I was kind of privy to, but, you've been doing a podcast every day for the past, like, what was it, 172 days in a row?
Yeah, I need to get out a little bit more, I guess is what you're saying. Yeah, no, I started this morning show out here. It's called Around 7. It's supposed to be 7 minutes around 7 a.m. Pacific. Generally it gets started, either around 7, maybe 7:10, 7:15. And some days I'm at 7 minutes. Other days it's at 30 minutes. So you never know, but it's a live show and it gets streamed over to YouTube and Facebook. And yeah, I just kind of tallied them up yesterday, done 170 live shows in the last 172 days. So it's fun. I love it.
Pretty solid.
And,
Congratulations
and
on
all
that.
the replays are over on my YouTube channel. So if you really want to binge on something, that's where to go find it.
For sure. Yeah, definitely encourage everybody to check out Web Tennis on YouTube. So just search that and you'll find it. So before we start, Brent, I do just want to give a big shout out to, I always mess this up. Yes. Slinger bag, which is right there. So I have the Slinger bag. I really, really enjoy it. It's been a great tool for me to improve my game, especially during these days, as you can imagine. And great quality ball machine slash bag. I can put a ton of stuff in it. And again, I just really appreciate Slinger Bag's support. And I've been getting some emails from you all about your interest in the bag. So definitely, continue to hit me up if you have questions about it, and I can send you a link to it. So, Brent, we're going to analyze some doubles points. And, I guess we can just have you share your screen, and then we can go on to it.
All right. Let's see if I can make this happen. As an old dude, it's not. There we go. You got it?
Let me put that in. Yep.
Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this point first, and then there's two things I want to point out, and this is about the I formation, right? So you're playing against a team, and yours truly up here at net, my partner Chris Morgan, and we're playing against a very, very good team. The reason we've gone to I formation is because Paul Wolf on this side over here has just been, abusing us going cross court, putting the ball in front of his partner Len Wofford, and really kind of forcing us into the I formation. So let me just take this point through one time, real time, and then I want to come back and point out two things that are crucial about the I formation. So kind of anticlimactic, right? Not a lot going on there, but there are two really important things that are happening here that I want you to see, Maribon. Is number one is that when you're in the I formation, obviously you've got to signal to your partner, are you going to stay here, or are you going to cover over here to your left if you're serving to the deuce court? So that's a signal, right? Let me see if Chris has already got the signal, and don't think he does yet. So he's looking for a little confirmation, and there it is. So the first thing with the I formation that the net player has got to try to visually distract the returner, and you do that with a fake poach. So in this example, I'm staying home, right? I've given them the signal that I'm staying home. But what you've got to do is you've got to throw in a fake poach to try to visually distract the returner. And obviously it doesn't always work, but even if the returner can sense that this is a fake, at least it may slow down the return to your partner, right? Now, the next part of it is, and look, the fake is not really anything more than just kind of being a little drama boy in terms of taking a big step out there, making it look like something's happening, and then kind of pulling it back in case he buys the fact that it's a poach and decides to go back cross court as he does and misses the return. Now, here's the most important part of this I formation. And this, so if I'm playing against, if I'm the returner and I'm playing against the I formation, I'm not even looking at this player. I'm not concerned about this player because I want to see which direction is the server going to move to here. And if they're going to move over here, well, then what do I know? Well, I know that the I formation player here is going to end up here. So my return goes cross court. If the server comes out of their service motion and goes to their left, in this case, well, I know that this player's staying home and my return's going here. So every time I go I formation, I always make sure that I remind my player, don't cross over either direction too early. I don't want that returner knowing which direction you're going. And Chris does a perfect job in terms of starting to come in, and there's no way that returner knows which direction he's going, right? And he actually puts the brakes on right in here, and he could go to right or to the left with kind of a small split step here. So those are really the two key things on that I formation. Is you got to make sure that the net player, the service partner, throws in a fake. And if I'm going to move over to this side, I throw in a fake early, come back, and then go, right? So it's not a wait to the last second and move over. And then, of course, the server's got to make sure that you don't give away to that returner which side you're going to cover by coming out of your service motion and instantly either moving to your right or to your left. So does that make sense?
Yeah, great stuff, Brent. And just again to I guess to reemphasize, like the when should the server sides be moving? Like, is there a cue or moment that we should wait for before we move?
You're talking about the service partner up at net?
Yeah, mainly the service partner. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of depends. It depends on your partner serve. This is actually he missed the first serve. This is the second serve. So on my first serve, if I had to cover over here, I'd have to go a little bit sooner, just because I know the speed of my service partner's serve. Right on a first serve, second serve, it's a nanosecond slower, so the movement's going to be a little bit later. But the other thing too is it depends on where does this returner play. If the returner likes to play 2 or 3 feet behind the baseline, then I get to wait a little bit longer, right, to move, because they're actually going to receive the ball later. In this case, Paul, maybe it's hard to see, but he's standing, either on top of or just inside the baseline, which means that he's going to take the serve. He's going to take his return earlier, meaning I've got to make my move sooner than if he was further back. So there are some variables in there that you got to consider. Not that they're, it's not brain surgery, and it may take you a couple of times to figure out the timing. But this is a formation of doubles that is not something that just intellectually you go, well, let's try the I formation in a match. You've actually got to practice this thing a lot. And a lot of it for me as a service partner, as I just said, Maribon, is getting to know my server's, his serve speed, the type of serve. I mean, maybe he's got, a high bouncing kicker, and that's going to change the timing of when I throw in the fake poach, or I fake early and then come back and then go. So there are definitely some variables in there. It definitely takes a lot of practice, and but it is a great way to really neutralize when that returner is really, and look, I do this a lot when I've got a super active returner's partner up here, right? So when I've got the returner being here and the returner's partner here, if this player loves to poach a lot off a cross court return, then this can make life tough for the server, right? So if that's the case, either the returner's having a great day, just really ripping the ball cross court, and just creating a lot of pop-ups for the returner's partner, or the returner's partner likes to poach a lot off the return, then you know what? We'll just take that away, and we'll take this player out of it. And most of the time, I'm going to fake and stay, and allow my partner to cover on this side, so that they've got an open lane to be able to hit back into, without a returner's partner directly in front of them.
Awesome. Thanks, Brent. And so, in terms of the returns, I know you mentioned that, we should be returning obviously to the server and not trying to get picked off here in our return, but any validity to returning down the middle? Do you ever do that?
Well, in this case, if you return down the middle in here, if I'm not going, I'm clogging up that lane. I'm right there. So if that's what you mean by the middle, is kind of coming back this way in this line, there's going to be a player right there. I mean, look, I'm going to give you this little area right in here. I'm going to give that to you. If you can find a way to either slide it over there or chip it over there, or maybe with a forehand, roll it over there, it's all yours. And I'm gonna say, great shot. Wow, that was kind of getting into your head, thinking, wow, well, maybe you could do this again. And the reality is you can't. I mean, maybe a couple times during the match, but I'm going to give you this little area. Look, can we cover 100% of the court? No. And if I stay here and Chris moves over, is there a chance that the returner could play a tough deep lob over here? They could. So we can't cover 100%. We're just trying to, as I always say, it's kind of the 80-20 rule. If you can cover 80% of the court in doubles 100% of the time, man, you're forcing those opponents to have to play into that 20%, which is typically more of the lower percentage. And if they can beat you that way, then, my hat's off to them.
Yeah, especially at club level. I mean, those are very tough shots. And I like the positioning of the returner's partner, not being too close, because obviously, the net player on the server side, if they get that ball, it's going to be very tough to handle unless the returner's partner is, sufficiently backed up to give them a little more time. I mean, any other thoughts on that, or do you?
Yeah, no, that's exactly right.
Okay.
Here's a couple of things. I kind of look at the returner's partner on the service line for a couple of reasons. Number one, help out on that really close serve that's a hair out, which is a tough angle for the returner to see. But that's not as important as the initial return, being in more of a defensive position that you could, if you're up too close, then the middle gets much more wide open, so that you at least have a chance to kind of defend off that return. But here's the problem, and this as well as I do, Coach, that we see a lot of players start here and then they just stay there for the next couple of shots. And really, if the return is good and down low, so in this case, if I'm staying here and Paul plays a return here, well, this partner might want to step forward or maybe move in the middle more to kind of clog it up. But if you end up staying too much on this service line, it happens more on the traditional setup where, Chris would be serving over here and I'd be his partner here, and the return goes cross court. Man, this player's got to really move up at least to halfway inside that service box and not get stuck here, or even worse, start to back up a step or two after that return goes cross court.
Great stuff. Thanks for that, Brent. Yeah, great demonstration here. Trying to think if I have any other questions, but I think we can move on to the next one if you feel like it.
Yeah, let me do that. I'm going to get this one out of here. Let's see, okay, here's one here. See if this makes sense.
Sure.
Here we go. Trying to get a little. Okay.
No problem. And yeah, obviously, feel free to ask us your questions here. I'll say hello to some people. Saleh, again, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing. What's up? VJB, Joe Ben, Mark, Kristen, Livin. Hey, everybody. Oh, I see the clip, so let me put that up for you. Let's see. There we go.
Okay. This is a doubles match, men's 60s from a year ago at the Wilson. And this really kind of demonstrates a couple of great things. Number one, you don't with your return. You can lob. And look, if it's a good lob, such as this one by Mark, don't stand back there in the baseline after you've played the lob. You got to get up. Think of it as an approach shot. And now, I could stop it right here and say, Maribon, what do you think is the right shot? And I'll ask you, if you're the server who's just come back, had to retrieve that lob, what shot are you about to play?
Well, I'm definitely hitting a lob, that's for sure. I'm hoping to get a lob up to one of the players' backhands. I'm trying to figure out where exactly I want to. I might lob it in the middle, just like as far as, bigger target for myself. I think it would be pretty tough to hit a cross-court lob. So, yeah, middle or.
So look,
yeah.
I mean, I like that shot choice. And a couple of things that the lob does here is it allows you and your partner to have some time to kind of regroup in terms of court position, right? If you look at the sun here, the shadow this way, might be pretty tough on this opponent right here with that lob going up in the sun. So there's some things to consider. Unfortunately, this player does not take your advice and plays a slice low backhand. And so I'm going to stop it here. What do you think is the right shot based on the court position of these two guys?
Yeah, dropper on blue would be pretty good if the player is confident in that shot.
Down low. Actually, almost a half volley, I think. But absolutely.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so a lot of players do not work on this shot. A lot of players do not work on a drop volley. And you get players out of position where there's a wide open space on their side of the court. You have got to be able to take advantage of that and not just sort of, play this volley back deep. You play the volley back deep. This team, in my mind, has kind of won that one shot, right? Because you've not really punished them. I see a lot of players try to take this and do something fancy over here. That's rough. That's really rough. I mean, and so look, and this does not require a lot of great stroke technique. It's just a bunt. It's just, can you receive it and just bunt the thing over, kind of absorb it in the racket string bed, and just feel it back over. Obviously, you can practice this shot a lot, and there you go. So, again, kind of anticlimactic, but it just shows what I think is a poor shot choice here, because I don't know what you're thinking here. Maybe you're thinking that the returner's not coming in. That could be, but still, even if this guy's staying back, why wouldn't you lob this and at least allow you and your partner to have some time to regroup in terms of court position? So I would say, Coach, you had the right shot choice in the beginning there. Throw that lob up high, make it high, make it as deep as possible. They're going to get to it. And look, if it's really a deep lob and you can see it's going to be landing deep, they're not going to play an overhead. Why can't the two of you reclaim, or both of you come up to the net position, and let's see what happens from there?
Yeah, definitely appreciate that, Coach. Yeah, I think I'm not trying to defend the player there, but maybe in his mind he thought, oh, well, if I can get it low, make them hit up and then sprint up. But still, I agree with you, obviously, with lobbing it up there and just being able to get reset and give yourself more time. So thanks for
Yeah,
that
I think.
demonstration.
Yeah, I think from this far back in the court,
Yeah.
it's pretty tough. I mean, I could see if you're in here, and I like this shot from time to time, where I'm back here, the ball's sitting straight up. It's not bouncing away from me. And I've got someone who I know is transitioning to move in. I'm going to play a little slow and low kind of slider, where for me it's an approach shot. I mean slow so that this player doesn't want to pick it off, but I should say low, but slow so that it takes time to get to this player's feet, and both my partner and I can kind of regroup and move in. So yeah. Any more questions on that one?
Yeah, well, so let's see. We've got some comments, maybe not directly related to this point, but one from VJB, never considered the server showing your hand. Nice thought. And then Saleh asked this question about doubles. How important is doubles play if the plan is college tennis for a kid's future?
Say that again.
So basically, how important is it for junior players to learn doubles if they're planning to play college tennis?
Okay, that's the timing on that question is good, and I know that you know Craig O'Shaughnessy,
Oh yeah.
and so Craig came out with a new blog post a couple of days ago, and he talked about the value of moving up to net, whether it's serve and volley, whether it's chip and charge, whether it's playing an approach shot, whatever. And he had some astronomical number of data points that he pulled his numbers from, and they were college men and college women. And so this is perfect for your question. And it said that, and again, I don't remember the exact number, so we'll have to go back and take a look at it to make sure. But it was clear that the college players, when they came up to net, were winning at least 2/3 of the points when they came up to net, and that they were coming up to net something like the winner of the match was coming up well over 50%, something like 60% of the time, which sounds crazy because we think of college players having come out of junior programs sort of with this homogenized commodity forehand and backhand baseline play. And so the numbers clearly show that if you're going to be a college player, you've got to learn how to play not only up at net and singles, but you better be a good doubles player too, because if you're not going to play in the top six in singles, doesn't mean that you can't be a great college doubles player. And so to answer the question, I think it's super important that kids in junior programs learn how to play approach shots, learn how to take balls in the rise and take time away from that opponent over there, learn how to come in, play half volleys, play transitional volleys, obviously play the volley once they're up at net, and learn how to play overheads, because the chances of some kid going to college and then moving on to making money on the pro tour are astronomically low. So to me, I've always thought your job as a junior program developer, your job as a college tennis coach is to help continue instill the love of the game so that these kids don't get burnt out when they're in college and just go, tennis, man, when I'm done, I don't want to play anymore. I want to take time off, as opposed to, I love this game. I want to keep playing it as an adult. They go into the workforce. See, now you shouldn't have asked me this question because now I'm way off topic.
No
But
problem.
I just think it's super important that kids become all court players, and all court meaning you got to be able to not just be a baseline only, because if that's the case, I think there's too many smart coaches out there that are going to take advantage of. Okay, if we know we've got a kid back there that all they want to do is stay back and they're freaked out about coming up to net, why would we give them the opportunity to stay back and not come up to the net? So anyway, answer the question. Yes, I think it's super important.
Yeah, for sure. I couldn't agree more. And I was definitely one of those kids in juniors where I was just stuck on the baseline and, didn't know how to finish points. I was just grinding out points. And, that's definitely, if I could take back time or go back in time, I would learn to play more doubles. I was playing 99% singles tournaments, barely any doubles, as a kid. And I just started learning doubles in college. That was really my first taste, to be honest. So,
Well, that's
um,
not really your fault. I mean, it's
yeah.
the coaches have got to figure this thing out. And
Yeah.
as a junior, you don't know any better. So anyway, I just think doubles is such a different game than singles. It's so much fun. The geometries are so much different. And come on, man, a team sport, there's nothing better than that.
Yeah, 100% there. And just quick hello to Ian Westerman, who I'm streaming with later today. He said, Brent, you're the man. So good to see the two of you working together. Thanks for your passion. Appreciate it. Thanks for your passion, Ian. You do a great job. You're consistently putting out great content and looking forward to our stream later today. So great stuff.
All right, I got another point here for you.
Okay, great. I have a question too, but we can hold off on the question and look
Sure.
at the point first if you want to do that, or
Okay. Yeah. And here it is. It's there.
okay, here we go. Then we'll get to Alan's question after.
So here's a common court positioning mistake that you gotta figure this one out. And I see this all the time. And it's really, in this case, good serve, good return, and look, the transitional shot is fine, but since you're going back cross court to the returner, this is really where you should be hanging out, right? I mean, this is a staggered court position when you're hitting the ball back cross court. Is that you've got to be really kind of in the back third, and hopefully your partner ends up closer. So my rule of thumb here, Mirabon, is that if the ball is directly in front of me and this player, the ball's directly in front of him, that you're the player that's closer to the net. If the ball's cross court from you, in this case, the blue shirt is cross court from the ball, then you got to hang out really on sort of the threshold here of the back third, so that you can, if need be, and I don't believe in the thing that you got to cover every shot, every lob that's hit on your half of the court, but you got to be able to cover the deep lob here. You've got to be able to cover the middle because the chances are in this shot here that if it gets past the net player, there's got to be a second line of defense. And you also obviously going to have to cover this too. So when you're cross court from the ball, to me, you've got about 75% of the court to cover in this specific shot right here. And here's what happens is blue shirt, the server, continues to move in and their split step is here. And now you can see what's coming, man. I mean, This whole thing is so wide open that, and you want you to see where this lob hits. This is not a deep lob. Look at where this thing lands.
Yeah.
Right? It's halfway between the service line and the baseline, and these guys don't have a chance at making this play. So, and I think Blue Shirt's partner realizes the court positioning mistake and senses him moving in front of him, and now goes, well, I got to back up. And a couple bad things. This thing's wide open. Now the middle in this positioning alignment, the middle gets much bigger for this player over here than if it was reversed, with this player being closer and this player being back in here. So the rule of thumb: if the ball's in front of you, then you're the player closer to the net. And if the ball's on the diagonal from you, cross court, then you know what? You're the player that's back here on the back third of the court. And I know this always brings up players going, well, what if they don't lob and they hit that, drive back cross court? Wouldn't you want to be here? And my my response is, man, I'd love to be there, but I'm playing against, semi-intelligent human beings out there, and I might get away with it once, but that's it. And from the rest of the match, if I'm going to continue doing this court position, this guy's going, God, thank you very much. I don't even have to hit a top spin lob here. I can just kind of shove this thing over here. And look, even if this guy scrambles and gets back to it, it's going to be a backhand overhead and going to be a tough shot. So there you have it.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, that's something that we really want to look out for whenever there's this type of positioning flaw here with your opponents. Then you definitely want to pick that apart and go for that lob. So that's fantastic. Brent, got some questions here. Alan Miller, where does the net player go? Stay back or come forward? I don't know if that was particular to the last point, but what are your thoughts on that?
Where does the net player go? Stay back or come forward? If he's talking about that last point that we saw, I mean, if I've got the ball directly in front of me and my partner's on the diagonal, my partner's cross court, and I sense that my partner's moved in front of me, then yes, someone's got to back up. Someone's got to try to cover that probable lob that's coming. So if that's what Alan is talking about, maybe he can follow up with and clarify. But yeah, I mean, that's why court positioning in doubles is so important, because like I said before, in that case, if we'd seen the server stay back into the back third of his half of the court and allow his partner to kind of move up a little bit closer, then again, there's no way we can ever cover 100% of the court. Never. So we're always trying to maximize that 85% coverage. And one way you do that is if both of you are up at net, if the ball's directly in front of you, you're closer. If the ball's in the diagonal, then you got to be a little bit back. It's the classic staggered court positioning with both players up at net. That gives you a chance to cover 80% of the court and force that opponent into going for some kind of thread in the needle, up the line, maybe in the middle, maybe a little roller cross court, or try to go for the tough topspin lob.
Yes, sir. Awesome. Let's see. A couple other comments. Saleh says, we need this summit again after the U.S. Open. You guys are awesome. Thanks. Wow. Another one. Just want to collapse thinking about it.
What I was going to say, I mean, the guy's working hard enough as it is. Why don't you give him a breather for, a little bit?
Yeah. No, it's all good.
All right.
Yeah.
We got time for another one here.
Yeah, if you don't mind, let me ask this one real quick. If you have a righty-lefty team, who do you recommend plays the ad/deuce court? Also, is there one up and one back as much of a taboo in the modern game as it used to be? So a two-parter there.
Yeah. So the lefty that I play with the most is my wife, and she is a full-blown 5-0 player. And we've been fortunate enough to win 6 national husband-wife titles, one most recently a year ago, 3 clay, 2 grass, and a hard court. And look, I put her over in the deuce court because she's got not so much her forehand volley in the middle, because she's got a good backhand volley anyway, but she's got this sort of in-between volley and overhead. We've nicknamed it the claw. And
Nice.
So if I can get my return cross court, she is just looking to do some damage with the claw. And so I like to have her on the deuce side. A lot of players say, well, the lefty ought to be in the deuce and the righty on the right so that you have your forehand volleys in the middle. I think of it more like we've got both overheads in the middle, because in good doubles, there's some lobbing going on, right? And also, I think a lot of players assume, well, my forehand volley is better than my backhand volley. Well, if that's the case, then, come on, get out there and work in the backhand volley. It's not that tough a shot. And you ought to shore it up, because you don't want to have that kind of a weakness where you guys have to kind of, well, you return over there because we got to hide your backhand volley. So get out there and work on. In fact, take the slinger bag out there and go to work on it. But I like to have the overheads in the middle, and I just, the only thing there is you just got to make sure you guys are communicating on who's going to take the lob if it's coming right down the middle. But the other thing too is that if I'm playing against a lefty and righty and we've got the backhands in the middle, I'm thinking less about playing down the middle because the backhand volleys are weaker. I'm thinking much more, I'm going to lob right down the middle. If I get a ball that I'm not sure what to do with, I'm going to go ahead and lob down the middle. In fact, I'm not going to worry about it being super deep. I'm actually going to let them kind of fumble around, decide who's going to take this high backhand volley. And then also, is one up and one back as much of a taboo in the modern game as it used to be? And no, I mean, I occasionally will play. I play out here Saturday and Sunday on the grass. We've got a guy that organizes doubles, and occasionally, and we mix around, and I'll get partnered with a guy who really prefers the baseline. I don't mind that as long as he knows that I'm going to be up at net and I'm going to be his cleanup guy. And all I'm asking from him is your job's not to have to hit winners from the baseline. All you got to do is just roll the ball down in front of me, get it down to that opponent in front of me. Let me shake and bake a little bit. Let me poach. Let me fake poach. Let me do whatever. Let me visually distract. But let's make this a partnership. And if his preference is to stay back and hit groundies all day long, then I don't have a problem with that. But I got to make sure that he's not thinking, well, I like to stay back in the baseline and hit groundies, and I like to be on ESPN 11 p.m. top 10 shot of the day. I'm going to rip up the line. I'm going to rip here, rip there, do this, do that. And especially with the return, I think it happens a lot in the return where you get a guy who really feels, or a gal who really feels like, I love the baseline. I'm going to unload on this return. And if you consistently unload too big, number one, you're not making many returns. But number two, you're not allowing your partner who's up at net to be able to do anything. It happens so quickly that returner's partner really can't get involved. So I would say, not that I teach it, because just getting back to the question about the junior program, I mean, look, I just think it's more fun. I just think it's more fun to play a transitional game, to play up at net. Again, I'm not going to tell someone, well, you got to do what I do if we're going to be able to compete against this team. And I'm sure, Coach, you get the same question too. Hey, man, I play with this guy. He doesn't want to come up. How can I play doubles? Well, okay. You don't want to force that guy into an uncomfortable style of play. You want to go ahead and ask him, well, what's your preference? You want to stay back and hit groundies? Cool. Let's try this. Let's see if you can hit it over here, get it down to the feet. Don't be freaked out if I poach, or don't be freaked out if I fake early and come back. We're going to work out this thing together. So I hope that answers his question.
Beautiful. Love it. Thanks for that, Brent. So can we pull up another one? Do you have time?
Yeah, I sure do.
Great.
Let me get the one I was thinking about. It is, oh yeah, okay. Here we go. And where is it? I must already have it up there. All right, here we go. Do I? Yes. All right, here you go.
All right, cool. I think I see it, and there we go.
Okay. This is from the National Men's 60 grass courts a couple of years ago, and which was hosted here at the Mission Hills Country Club. Two really good teams. And, it's weird because we see this stuff on video, Maribon, and it looks like it looks slow. It looks easy. Looks like ho-hum, I could do that. And believe me, if you're on the other side of the net from these two guys, it's rough. It's like a tidal wave coming in. So anyway, but what I want you to, I'm actually just going to play the entire point here, and then we'll come back. And there's one one thing that I want to point out that I think is really super important about learning how to play doubles and becoming a better doubles player. And we'll just kind of finish off the point here, and then I'll come back.
Long rally. Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Kind of a little slider over there. So this is my returning serve is my good friend Eric Lato. Very smooth lefty. But one thing that we're told too much is that you got to stay out of no man's land. You do not want to play doubles from no man's land. And so either you're going to stay back. Hold on, I'll get rid of that. Either you're going to stay back or else you better be up inside the service line because you're in trouble here. And the reality is you're going to have to learn to get comfortable in here, either for one transitional shot. It could be a serve and volley. It could be a second serve, chip and charge. It could be you get a short ball and you got to play an approach or an approach volley or an approach half volley. But you can't be worried or panicked or freaked out about having to play a shot from inside no man's land. And what Eric shows us in this point is that he doesn't feel he can get in on this return, and yet he's not backing away, right? He's decided to stay pretty darn close inside the baseline and see what he's given. And now all he's thinking about here is I just want to not set them up. Doesn't have to be a perfectly low ball, but I don't want to set these guys up, right? And so he plays a ball in the middle. Doug doesn't have a real great opportunity from where he is. And Eric's thinking again, all I want to do is keep the ball down low. He does a great job on this. And now he's got to go play inside no man's land. Now, could he approach from here on a hard court? Yeah, he probably could. This ball stays pretty low, so it's really tough to play an approach. And now he's in no man's land, right? But he's comfortable here. Look at this ready position, right? He's ready for whatever they give him, and he's going to play two more shots. Again, trying to see if he can get a ball where he can approach on. And now he's got the setup, right? And what would be the right shot here? I mean, God, look at all these shot choices here, Mirban. Could he kind of roll in the middle?
Uh-huh.
He could. If the ball's not too low, could he go up the line? He could, but I wouldn't do that because of where he is. If he goes up the line and Doug is over here, he doesn't have enough time to really be able to cover, right? Could he lob cross court? Absolutely, right? Or could he go ahead and just slide this thing, just slide it cross court, and there you have it. So,
great shot.
Look, the whole reason I'm showing you this point is that you've got to get comfortable playing within no man's land. And one of the drills that I like is I actually put myself right about here, right? I've got one practice partner. I'm here in the court. He's over there in the same, right in the middle. And all we do is we just rally the ball cross court from here. I don't know whether I'm going to get a volley or a half volley, or maybe the ball will sit up short. But I just start desensitizing myself by just hitting balls from this part of the court, no man's land, cross court. And I don't like to call it no man's land. It's really the transitional area. But desensitizing yourself to playing shots from here. Now, are you going to get stuck here for the whole point? Probably not. And occasionally I get unstuck, and for whatever reason I end up back here. But 98% of the time, Maribon, I get unstuck from no man's land and end up inside, either on top of the service line or inside it. But and then of course the other way you do this is you play points out, right? You have one guy serving. There's only two players in the court. There's a practice drill, shadow doubles. We've all played this a million times. I played this for 1 year, twice a week, before I won my first national title back in the 35 hard courts with my doubles partner. And all we did was he would serve, I would return from, actually was, since I was playing the deuce side, I was returned from the deuce side. And we just play out points cross court, right? The alleys are good. We would be able to work on the serve and volley, the transitional. You would play a ton of shots from inside here, and then you transition up in here. So there are a lot of ways to desensitize yourself to having to play shots from within no man's land. And you got to be able to do it, because if you don't, then you might become that type of player that gets stuck back here in the baseline. And look, eventually the better teams that don't have any problem with both players being up in net, they're going to win that match most of the time.
Yeah, 100% there. Thank you for that analysis. It's brilliant. Brent, we have a bunch of questions that hopefully we can get to.
Let's go.
All right, sweet. Let me just... whoops. So this next question is, when do you not follow in your lob?
Well, if it's short,
that's one.
If my lob is short, I'm not coming in. Look, I want to reference back to my wife when we play mixed doubles, and she's on the deuce side, and lots of times in the beginning of the matches, we're playing against a guy who's not played against us before, doesn't know me, doesn't know her, and they've warmed up and they see that she's got this nice little two-handed backhand, which is now, right, it's out there in the alley. And so they're going to serve her out wide to test it. And she loves it, because what she'll do is she will then lob kind of up the singles line. And typically it's a right-handed server's partner, and not lob it so deep that it's automatic that it's a switch, right? That the server's going to put on the brakes. She's going to lob it to that backhand and make sure that that net player has to back up enough to where they have to play a high backhand volley. And so as her partner, I'm salivating. I'm just looking for anything that's going to be something I can clean up. And she's actually going to move in on it. I mean, she might have to play a transitional shot on that from inside, the transitional area. We're not calling no man's land, and that's fine. But she's forced that player back. And so for me, if I can figure out a way to lob over someone's backhand, which I'm always looking to do, and it's not an automatic switch where they have to play a high backhand volley, I'm moving forward. Again, because I don't worry if they play a ball back to me and it ends up in no man's land. I don't care about that. I've got the advantage. I've got a ball that I'm now approaching on. They're maybe backing up. So really, the only time I'm not coming in on a lob is if I played it short to their overhead.
Awesome.
Other than that, look, I mean, in singles, if I've got a guy who's playing serve and volley and he makes the first volley, the transitional shot, and I lob deep over their backhand, which I'm always thinking about as well, I'm definitely moving in. Now, if it's a deep lob where they have to let it bounce, well, that's a total approach shot for me, right? And then the same thing in doubles. If I'm returning serve and I lob over someone, why would I stay back? What would be the point of staying back? Unless you're really freaked out about being up at net, then okay. But other than that, I'm coming in. And look, if I don't have a great overhead, but my partner's overhead's pretty darn good, and the lob is coming even, maybe they play the lob back. If the lob's even slightly on my side, I might say yours. Let you go ahead and take it. So.
Good stuff, Brent. Good
Hope
stuff.
that answers the question.
Yeah, 100% it does. A bunch more still. Let's see. Okay, Alan, last point. Both players back, add court player returns, net player where?
Okay, I'm seeing AY time.
Oh,
you
sorry.
see.
Here we go.
See a guy turn your back. Okay, here we go. Last point. Both players back. Add court player returns, net player where?
Which net player are we talking about, though?
Yeah, and I'd love to bring up which one that was. You know what I've done is Dang it. Well, let's just try to figure this one out.
Or maybe you can give like different scenarios or something, just
Yeah.
for context if you want.
Both players are back. The ad court player returns, net player where. Well, again, I go back to the rule of thumb is that if the ball's in front of you, then you're the closest to the net. If you and your partner are both up at net, then if the ball's in front of you, then you've got. I mean, if we're playing doubles, I don't mind if they lob over you, and I'll go get it. I tell my partner, if we're going to err on your court position when the ball's in front of you, I'd rather have you play a step closer to the net than maybe what you're comfortable with. And I got you. I got that deep lob. Don't worry about that. Sure, if they lob short and you want to back up a little bit in the service line and pump your overhead, cool. But if I'm cross court from the ball, I am not going to be the closest partner up to net. I hope that answers his question.
Yeah, good stuff there, Brent. Just going to try to roll through these. So, Dale, anytime you see a guy turn maybe their back, he says your back, come in, yes?
Anytime you see a guy, I'm assuming he means their back. Do you come in? Well, if I see that someone's turned their back to me, are they going to hit, and the lob's going towards their overhead? I mean, it could be that particular player, and I won't know until the first time it happens. That particular player might have an overhead setup where they like to turn and show me their back and then come around and play an overhead. Well, maybe the first time I'll go to school on it and see that that's what they do. But most players, if they've turned all the way around and I see their back, even if the lob's going to their overhead, probably means they're going to let it bounce. And so in that case, unless it's a short lob where it's just sitting up around the service line, no, I'm not coming in.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Brent. Let's see. Great question, Hamza. That was a great question. Tom, is typical great info. Good question, Counselor Doc. Thank you very much, Tom. Good to see you again. Oh, here's a very good question from Victor Ing. My partner is a great singles player, but plays doubles like he's playing singles. How do I change his mindset to moving forward more? That's a great question. What do you think there, Brent?
Yeah, I mean, we already answered this question, Coach. Is if I'm playing with a great singles player and he doesn't like to move forward, I'm not going to shove his style into my style just because I like to move forward. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to him and say, man, you got some great groundies. Let's see if this works and I'm going to ask him, do you want to stay back or do you want to move in? And he says, well, I really prefer staying back and playing my groundies. So I'm going to, okay, that's cool. So here's what I'll be doing. When you're playing a groundie, I'll be looking for balls going in front of me. You're going to play a ball in front of me, and then I'm going to look to close. You're already back there. So if they lob over me, no big deal. You're going to be able to cover the lob easily. And let's work this thing together, right? We don't need to play doubles with taking a singles only guy and forcing him into playing what I think is the best way to play doubles or for what I think is the way I like to play doubles. And why not let the guy have free reign to just feel like the man back there and hit these groundies, not for winners, but hitting them to spots in the court where they're actually dipping down at someone's feet. Or if he's hitting cross court to another player who likes to do the same, who likes to stay back, well, I'm just going to tell him, okay, great. But I'll be doing a lot of fake poaching. When you hit your great groundy cross court to that guy and he's staying back, don't get screwed up because I fake poach. I'm doing that to actually slow the swing down over there so you get an easier ball. Mm-hmm. And I may poach from time to time, be looking for it. And if they go up the line, you're quick, right? You're a great singles player. You can scamper over there and get it. But I want to enable my partner to go into their most comfortable place, whatever that is. And if they're bringing singles to the doubles game, I don't want to make them a doubles player just because I think that the only way we can compete is with both of us up at net. And we've definitely seen in the Pro Tour for the last 10, 15 years, that's not the case. Now, maybe that's because the junior, as we talked about before, the junior programs aren't teaching kids enough to how to volley, how to transition. So we see the guys in the tour not wanting to be at net. But I also think too that the guys in the tour are just crushing the ball, crushing it and dipping it. And that's a tough little ball. So my thing to my guy is, yeah, let's go cross court. Let's dip it at the feet and give me something to work with.
Yeah, I definitely like, just going to that player's strengths there. I mean, that's a great point overall, and just trying to, have him set up the partner and vice versa. So thank you for that great question, Victor. Definitely a common one. Let's see. So Gordon Tanner, surely serve and volley mandatory on doubles. Well, I think I know where you're going to go with this, Brent. You kind of just talked about it, right?
Well, for me, it's mandatory. And if I'm playing a national category 1 event, I'm going to play with another guy that plays similar to me. I'm probably not going to play. I've done it before. I played with a guy who really likes to stay back, but against the top teams, the 1 up, 1 back against a team that likes to play at net, against the teams I'm talking about, just doesn't in the long run work out. But yeah, I'm going to serve and volley first and second serve. I don't hit the second serve as well as I used to, but my transitional game is really what is my strength in doubles. So I'm definitely, for me, it's mandatory. But yeah, you're right. I answered that question. If someone else and for them they want to stay back, I guess it's not mandatory.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Brent. Janet, hello, tennis people. Hello to you too, tennis person. VJB, let's see. Okay. Okay, Brent, he meant, sorry. He or she's. How about mixed strategies? I mean, any like special mixed strategies, or are you pretty much going with the same stuff?
Yeah, it typically, I play a lot of mixed. My wife, mine, I play a lot of husband-wife mixed, right? And that's kind of different because typically, and again, not to disparage the women, but typically you get, if it's a good team, you've got a guy who is very strong, and the gal's not at the same. And look, there are definitely exceptions to this rule. I'm glad that Mine and I are now in a new age group because, man, we were aging up, and there were a lot of young guys and gals coming in, and but typically the guy's better. And so, a good example is the finals of the grass last year here, Mission Hills. We had to play against a guy who I think is like a 5'5". I'm a 4'5", right? He's a 5'5" guy. He was probably 15 years younger than I am. Maybe not quite that, maybe 12 years younger. And she's like a 4'5". She's a good player, but he's so quick. He's so active up there. And obviously with that disparity in skill level between a 5'5" guy and a 4'5" gal, we're doing everything we can to try to find her and play shots to her as often as we can. And that's just the reality of it. And so, and if that's the case with standard mixed doubles too, where you've got a guy who's stronger than the gal, then that's probably what you do. You try to hunt down the woman and play as many shots to her, even if typically you wouldn't play that shot to her. You might go traditionally more cross court or something like that. Here's something that we discovered, and I've now used it against servers partners where they're super active. They love to poach, or they're playing an I formation, and the guy is just insanely quick up there. And in the match last year, I tried going up the line a few times. That didn't work. I tried guessing cross court. That didn't work. I tried lobbing up the line, and that didn't work because I was playing the ad side, and that was going to his overhead. So I said, well, how about if I take her serve, and I'm just going to lob it cross court. I'm going to lob it back to her. And it worked like a charm because, first of all, she couldn't hurt us. She was staying back. And I had longer distance in terms of a cross court lob rather than an up the line lob. So I had longer longer geometry that way. But even if he decided to really scoot back and try to play an overhead, you know how that tough is, or how tough that is when the lob is going behind you and you're having to use the footwork to try to come around and move back behind your backhand and play the overhead. Well, we actually encouraged him to do that because then that whole side of the court, the other side of the court, was completely wide open. So that's one strategy right there that you can use in mixed when you've got, and it works in men's and women's doubles too. When you've got one player that's clearly stronger than the other player, is if you've got the other player who's weaker serving, lob cross court, lob back to them. And I think you'll find that a lot of good things happen. Mixed doubles, you got to be careful. If you're playing against someone who's weaker, I mean, you got to be careful that you don't make life miserable for this player, right? Either as their partner, you're a much better player and your partner's weaker. The last thing that partner is thinking about is, well, I should say probably the first thing they're thinking about is, I hope I don't screw this up. I hope they don't play shots to me. I hope I don't get hurt. I hope. And as their partner, and look, we see it from time to time in the mixed doubles thing where we get an idiot husband out there who thinks he's blah, blah, blah. And I just want to go over there and just say, you're just an idiot. Just, you're lucky your bride doesn't go look for an attorney when the match is over. And so, but you got to be careful with that. And you got to make sure that you're putting that weaker partner in their most comfortable position. And typically that's probably back in the baseline, right? Now, again, I would say typically. I'm sure there are exceptions to that rule. And then if you're the opponents, without hurting the weaker player, you've got to find them. And so, yeah, I mean, it does change things. And look, I played some mixed recently in a tournament here, and had a player that I felt I needed to cover for a lot, right? She didn't have the movement that my wife, Mai, does. And so they were playing her a lot. And then I would try to insert myself over there on some balls that I thought I had to poach on. And I knew that if I didn't do something big with that shot, that the whole half of the court was wide open. So you got to be careful on that. You got to be careful about trying to take too many balls that expose court position. And maybe in that case, just tell your partner, hey, let's go ahead and put you in the backcourt, and you just keep working the ground as you keep lobbing, and we'll kind of take it from there.
Great stuff, Brent. So I have to ask, obviously I should have asked you beforehand. Do you have time for a couple more? Do you have a hard cutoff, anything of that sort?
No, man, I'm wide open today.
Oh, fantastic. That's great to hear. Okay, let me go to the... Okay, got a couple comments, actually. Oh, okay. Gordon, better to have a lefty in deuce court nowadays, and then excellent doubles clips or players in your clips.
Yeah, I do prefer to have the lefty in the deuce court. I know that sometimes they like the lefty on the ad side and the righty on the deuce side because you have your forehands out in the out in the wings. I just don't see that as enough of an advantage to give up not having your overheads in the middle. So definitely, I like the lefty in the deuce, the righty in the ad side, and if they're going to lob us, it better be a little bit of a risky lob because you can't go down the middle.
Cool. Awesome. Let's see. So many questions here. Okay. Saleh, in my hometown, end of veterans tennis season, 45 plus is doubles tournament with prizes and barbecue. Oh, that sounds fun. So not a question, but that's pretty cool. Gary, when would you use a different formation, if at all? Well, that's a broad one.
So if Gary's asking about a different formation, which would be either the Aussie or the I formation, and even in the pros, we see that there's kind of a hybrid between the standard and the I formation, where the server's partner is starting, close to the center service line and really up close to the net. So my wife and I use the I formation a lot when she's serving against the woman, because the last thing we want is the woman to return cross court and put the ball directly in front of her partner. And typically, again, what happens is the guy is a lot more active, a lot more mobile up there. And this really happens also against, as I said before, when I showed that initial clip, if you've got a returner's partner who's super active, loves to poach, and that's me. I mean, I love to do that. I love to fake poach a lot as well, to try to visually distract. But if that's the case, then we're going to go to I formation or Australian to take away that cross-court return, just so that we keep that returner's partner out of the play. And really what that does is open up. I've even got a guy that I play with here in the weekends from time to time. We call him Backhand Tony. This guy has got a world-class money, kind of a flat semi thumb along the back of the grip, old school backhand. And he can hit this thing all day long. He's a right-handed player. And he wants me to always play Aussie, not even I. He wants to play me to play Aussie so that when he serves the deuce court, the return's always coming to his backhand, always. And so it's a little goofy, but that's what we do. But that's typically what we do with the different serving formations, assuming that's what Gary's talking about.
Yeah, for sure.
And look, I mean, no matter what formation you use, as the server's partner, you've got to be throwing in a fake poach. I throw in a fake every time, first and second serve. Now, doesn't mean that I don't poach, because I can throw a fake and come back. I can throw an early fake in and come back and then go. So I'm trying to kind of condition the returner to my movement sometimes. I'm trying to control where they return. And sometimes the early fake can come back and then you go. Well, they see the early fake after you faked a few times before. They go, oh, okay, well, he just faked early. And then you go and he goes, what are you doing, man? I mean, so you've got to be showing some movement as a server's partner every time. And if you only poach, I mean, if your only movement is when you poach, let's be real. To be able to catch up to a cross-court return, you gotta cross pretty darn early. And unless you're super quick, okay. But if the only time you move, you're going to cross, well, eventually I'm going to learn that. And as soon as I see any movement as a returner out of the corner of my eye, I'm going back cross court. I mean, I'm going back up the line. So.
Yeah, good stuff. Thanks for that, Brent. I'm just looking at some more questions. So, Sharita, how are you doing? Great to see you here. We're just hoping not to get nailed at the net. I'm going to turn this into a question. Any general tips on how to not get nailed at the net? This is a big fear of a lot of players.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have to, again, kind of desensitize yourself to that. And the way that you do that is you have a practice partner and just have them feed you some easy balls, right? So get a little bag or basket of balls out there. Put yourself in the middle of one of the service boxes where you might normally be when you're playing up at net, and have them feed some balls to you from the cross court, from a cross court angle. And then you can also do it from directly in front of you as well. But make sure the feeds are slow. Don't just start ripping at it and thinking, well, I'm going to desensitize you by hitting you a few times, and then you're going to kind of get conditioned to it. Here's the key. Here's the key to, number one, getting quicker up at net and not getting nailed. Is number one, you've got to learn how to have really soft hands in your ready position, right? So right as that feed or right as that practice partner is about to make contact, be conscious of your hands being super soft, where you're not clenching, you're not tightening on the grip. You don't have all this grip pressure where you're bringing all this fear. And all the fear of not getting nailed in the net starts with the brain, but it actually gets transferred into your hands. And when you're tight on the racket handle, you can't move a lick to get out of that ready position, right? You're just frozen. So I did an episode recently on 7 around 7 where I showed a point about reflexing volleys, and the guy had a point blanker right at me. Actually, in the same point, there were 2 point blankers right at me, and I've just learned over the years that number one, I'm assuming it's coming to me. Okay, and I'm assuming that's not a bad thing. I'm assuming it's coming to me, but I go into this very conscious thing about right before they hit it, my hands are really relaxed so that I can react either slightly to my left, slightly to my right, or a ball right at me. And look, you're not required, if you're about to get nailed, then your opponent who's about to nail you is probably pretty close. You're only required to cover a very small part of the court. You're not supposed to cover the whole, a ton. So you're only looking at covering a small part. And when you're doing this practice drill, really be conscious of, are you just squeezing the handle too tight? And once you start to get comfortable with that and you realize that soft hands allows you to react with a racket, right, left, or at the body, then ask that practice partner, why don't you speed up the feeds a little bit more and let's keep working on this. And eventually what you start to realize is that I'm quick enough. I can handle this. Look, if someone's point blank where they're right on top of the net and I'm in the middle of the box, look, I'm going to turn. I'm going to turn my back. I'm not going to feel like a wimp. I'm going to turn my back, and that's fine. But if they're not right directly on top of the net, then I feel like, look, I mean, I've got a chance. I got a shot at this thing as long as I don't panic, as long as I don't freeze up. And the way you do that is with soft hands. The only time you ever on a tennis shot, whether it's a serve, whether it's a volley, whether it's an overhead, with approach shots, groundies, whatever it is, volleys, the only time you might have to firm up the handle is just at that nanosecond prior to contact. Do you need to squeeze the racket at any other time in reacting to a forehand, balls to your right, in moving over to it, in getting prep with the racket, in swing shape prior to contact? Do you need to squeeze the racket tightly then? No. Do you really need to squeeze the racket tightly at contact? No. You might firm it up a little bit, but you don't need to go into the death grip. So to me, I think the way you get over the fear is, how do you get rid of the death grip, even though you know the ball's coming at you and it's going to be coming at you quick? The human instinct is to squeeze. And once you practice getting rid of that response, you're going to find that, bring it. Come on, bring it. Because you know as well as I do how many times you've played a shot at someone and they've reflexed it back for, could be lucky, but so it could be that it was intentional. Yeah. And you go, I guess I can't play my shot to that player anymore.
Yeah, it's a mindset shift there. Yeah, a lot more questions, Brent, which is great to see. Just a couple of shout outs. Yeah, I see Kristen, you're really enjoying the session, so that's wonderful to see. VJB, I would give 2 thumbs up if I could. I really appreciate that. Saleh's loving the content too here. Kristen, I'll email you about that question. Let's see. So we have actually a couple questions on communication. So Mr. Chad 68, speak on communication, please. I have played the last couple matches with partners that don't communicate. And then I also want to highlight Linda. Hello, Linda, to you. Great to see you. Similarly, how to best play with a partner who doesn't like to communicate.
Yeah, I play with both types of partners. I like to communicate. I'm a team guy, right? So I grew up playing a lot of team sports as a kid, primarily baseball. But doubles, to me, that's what it is. It's just a team sport. And, why wouldn't we communicate? However, I've played with a few partners that don't like to communicate between points. And I'm assuming that's what we're talking about. I mean, there's got to be communication during the point, like the lob goes up and we're not sure who's going to take it. If I've got a partner who says, well, I don't like to communicate when the lob goes up, we're not sure who's going to take it, I'm going to go, okay, well, I guess it's on me then to say yours or mine. You got to take charge of that. But look, I played with top, I'm thinking of one guy in particular where the first time we played, we were warming up in this match, and right before we've played the first point of the match, he came up to me and says, "Look, I'm not a rah-rah type of guy. I don't really like to talk between points." And I said, "You got it." And for me, that was just not forcing him to do what I like. I'm just going to go along with it, right? If he's really determined that he doesn't want to communicate between points, he wants to be in his own world, then that's fine. Now, does that mean that if we have different styles of play that we haven't worked that out before we play? Yeah, we probably have. Or maybe on a side change, I will mention something, say, hey, I noticed at 30 y'all you did this. Is this what you want me to do to set you up on that? But there are people out there that just don't want to communicate for whatever reason. And how do we force them into being different? We can't. I just think it's a losing battle. So I would say that you I got a dog with a dog toy back there squeaking away.
That's all right.
Hey, can you get Lovey's story? Anyway, but so you're going to have to be smart, right? If you've got a partner that doesn't like to communicate, and you're trying to figure out their style of play without communicating, without talking to them, then you got to be a smart player, and you've got to be able to sort of feel what your partner likes and doesn't like, and take it from there. So my preference is to always play with some guy or some gal who likes to chat. And sometimes it's nothing more than it's a big point, right? We're serving at 40-30. Could be set point. And I'd like to communicate there in terms of maybe not, if I've got my partner serving, it's not so much, hey, I want you to serve here or serve there, and then I'm going to do this or do that. The server is really the one that's got that pressure at that moment on the serve. And I'm going to go to him and her and say, hey, what do you feel like is your best serve right now? And even if it's going into the strength over there, they're going to say, well, I feel like my best serve is to kind of serve to the body right now. Boom, let's go. Or if they serve, I feel like my best serve's down the tee, but it's going to the forehand. I'm going, big deal. Let's go. You play your best serve. And I'll just, if they don't say, hey, would you poach? Or I'll just say, look, I'll throw in the big fake, the big false advertising, and I'll be staying home. So, but other than that, it could be the roles are reversed. It could be that it's 30-40. We're up break point, and we've got 30-40. It's 4-5. It's set point for us. And I might go to my partner and just say, hey, let's just make them play. And or if there's something where, hey, if he serves out here to me, I know that this is what's happening. I'm probably going to lob, so, but it's nothing fancy, man. I mean, it's I don't know how to answer it other than, Linda, you can't force them to communicate. You can't do it. And look, I've won matches with players that don't communicate, and we're a good team. We're a really good team. And so I'm not going to force them into some kind of style of play or some kind of rah-rah or, hey, let's high five after every point. I'm not going to do that. And I know a lot of coaches and that they coach that, but if you don't feel comfortable doing it, don't do it, number one, and be honest with your partner and just tell them, hey, look, I love playing with you, but I'm probably not going to be the best communicator today.
Yeah. Great thoughts there. So I think we're going to cap it at probably 2 more at the most here. So let's see. So Richard asked, do you think average players who only play doubles would benefit from hitting more singles to perhaps get more repeatable hits, thereby improving their technique?
Yeah, it's a great question. and this is, I hope, Coach Richard Johnson. Anyway, I definitely think singles helps doubles and doubles help singles in general. There's no question about it. I also think too that in doubles, if you just play doubles only, it can get a little frantic in terms of feeling the pressure. Like, well, if I'm going to return serve, cross court, am I playing keep away from that service partner, or am I just going to go ahead and play a standard kind of semi-rally ball cross court over there and kind of take the pressure off? And I think if you're playing a lot of singles, that what you start to feel is that, you know what, I can play a standard rally ball where it's going up the middle third of the court to my opponent. Yes, I know that they're going to touch the ball. I know they're going to have a play on it, but man, I'm winning points by just playing this standard ball up the middle in singles, allowing them to touch it. I wonder if that might work in doubles as well. And so what happens is you start to get comfortable and you start to feel a lot less pressure in doubles with your return to serve, with if you return and stay back and there's a transitional shot by the server, and now you're the one person who's in the backcourt. Could you relax and play a forehand or backhand where you didn't feel a need? God, I better rip it up the line. I better go in the middle, better go hard somewhere here. I don't want the ball coming back. What I think you eventually do is you start to feel comfortable with this thought that, hey man, it's okay to stay in the point. I don't need to end the point. I don't need to hit such a great shot that the chances are likely it's not coming back, or such a great shot that the chances are it's going to get popped up to my net partner. I think what you're going to find is and I think this is just a great question by Richard, is that you've got to practice the standard rally ball in singles so that you come away with knowing that, well, number one, the technique is, number one, you got to have right spacing. The spatial distance away from the path of that incoming ball has got to be good on your standard rally ball, so you're not having to constantly improvise stroke technique. You're not running over to that ball, you're crowding, the ball's too far away or whatever. So that's number one. You got to have the right spacing distance, consistent, to be able to hit a standard rally ball consistently. Number two, you got to find out for yourself, well, what's my ideal point of contact? Where do I want to receive the ball rather than reaching out and fighting it and trying to get rid of it? Where do I want to receive it? Well, for me, Maribon, on my standard forehand, if I've got the spacing right, my point of contact might be slightly different than yours. Yours might be slightly different than Richard. That's okay, but that's got to be a self-discovery in terms of spacing and then point of contact. And then the third thing is really, are you controlling your swing speed? Are you not overcooking? I mean, a standard rally ball by definition is it's going to keep the opponent at bay, not give them an offensive opportunity, but it's not ripped to where you're inconsistent. So if you can master those three things by playing some singles, as Richard's suggesting, which would be the technique for the standard rally ball, which would be spacing, point of contact, and swing speed. And look, we can all practice a 10 in terms of swing speed, but in reality, can you hit that consistently in a match? The answer is no. So you got to dial it back to a 5 or 6 and learn what that swing speed is. And if you can do that, I think you can transfer that over to doubles in terms of being able to take a deep breath and keep the pressure off and be okay to stay in the point if that's what it's taken. Speaking about Richard Johnson, I mean, I got to say, next to my bride, next to my wife, my favorite doubles partner, the great Dick Johnson. And he unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago, but we won the national indoors in Houston a couple of years ago, 2018. And all I remember on his return to serve is that we won the finals. We get upstairs, we're sitting down having a beer, kind of, in the afterglow. And I said, man, I really don't think you missed a return to serve. And I said, what's the deal? And he just says, well, I just kind of look at the incoming serve, decide where I'm going to hit it, and I'm just going to hit a quality ball, not a home run. It's probably just a single over there. I'm assuming it's coming back. That's okay, and we'll just kind of take it from there. And when he told me that, I said, well, no wonder you never miss a return to serve, because you're not trying to think that the return to serve must be hit in such a way that it doesn't come back. He's assuming it's coming back, and that's okay, and we'll just take it from there. So
Awesome, Brent. As you can see, this weird view, my monitor in front of me kind of blew out. So, but it's all good. I'm just looking to the side a little. So we have one more question that we have time for, and then we have 3 more streams today. So you can always follow up in the future. But let's see. So we have one by Victor who says, while at the baseline, my partner likes to hit the ball at the net player, trying to catch them off guard. This leaves me vulnerable at net. How can my partner communicate to me when he does that?
That's a rough one. That's a rough one. There's really no way other than, and here I go against the norm, which is if he's going to hit the ball at the net player, trying to catch him off guard. I'm assuming what that means is that net player's never poaching. They're never moving. And so what I'm going to tell you that I do that's really not taught, and every time I always get, infidel in the temple type of thing, is I actually turn and I take a look at what my partner is lining up to do. And if I see that they're lining up to hit a ball at that opposing net player in front of them, will I get information earlier than actually staring at the net player without watching my partner? I know this goes against the grain, but for me, I feel like I get that information a nanosecond sooner, which means that I can now prep for worst case, which would be I can see the trajectory coming off my partner's racket, knowing that, oh my God, this ball is going to be high. It's going to be a floater. I'm screwed. Or I can see in that moment coming off the racket, hey, man, this is going to be a great low ball. I'm going to take a step forward and look for something to clean up with. Now, the chances of that working on a percentage basis that works out for us winning points and games and sets and matches, I don't think is very good. So what I'm going to encourage my guy is that, hey, let's try a few more cross court. Now, look, there are times when I want to go at that opposing net player directly in front of me, not trying to thread the needle up into the alley, not thinking I want to hit a winner, but thinking of it as a 2 or maybe 3 shot play where I'm playing it directly at them and sort of tying up volley technique in between forehand and backhand volley technique, knowing that if I hit it right at them, and it's going to come back, but it's probably not going to come back as an offensive volley. And that means I'm going to get a second ball that I can probably do something with, or my partner might be able to do something with. But in the long run, I'm not going to do that too often. In the long run, I'm going cross court. I'm not saying that you shouldn't hit the ball directly at that net player in front of you. But if you want to, how's he going to communicate? I mean, is he going to say a word? Is he going to say something? Hey, Brent, I'm going to the guy in front of me. No, he's not going to do that. So the only way I know is I'm going to take a sneak peek at the guy back there and see what he's lining up to do, and get a sense of what kind of shot. Is it going to be a lob? Is it going to be, an underspin? Is it going to be a chip, a slow? Is it going to be a drive? At least now I know what he's setting up to do, and I get a better chance of knowing what's likely coming next from that net player. Hope that answers the question.
For sure, Brent. For sure. I think this has been a fantastic session. We're seeing a lot of great feedback here. Good stuff. Let's see. Sorry, I'm looking back up for the comments. Great. Thanks, Mirban. Great job. Much appreciated. Thank you, Linda. Gary said great stuff as well. So, Brent, I know you streamed earlier today, and I want to thank you for also streaming with me and, giving us a large amount of your time for today. And again, it was wonderful, and I really do appreciate all the great content that you shared. So I really want to encourage everybody to go to to web tennis, to the YouTube channel, I think would be the best place, like Brent said. So I guess just search web tennis in YouTube. Would that be the best thing to do?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of guys who've tried to knock off. I mean, it's
Oh,
a little
really?
annoying, but there's a couple of web tennis and then a couple of other digits or something afterwards. But yeah, it's
Oh,
just youtube.com/web tennis, WEBTENNIS. And you'll find me. And yeah, would love to
beautiful.
have you guys subscribe to the channel. I do go live every morning at 7 a.m. Pacific, sometimes a little bit after 7 a.m. And I try to keep it to 7 minutes. I'm not very good at that. I'm probably a little bit longer. It's more like 12 to 15. But yeah, would love to have you guys come on over and look, if you can't make the time at 7 a.m., jump on my email list and you will get you'll get an email notifying the replay right after I'm done every morning. So yeah, Maribon, look, man, I want to thank you. And look, you're doing it. One of the hardworking dudes out there. Really appreciate all you're doing for the tennis community, all the hard work you're putting in. And the tennis summit, obviously, super successful. So big time congrats to you.
Brent, thank you so much for the kind words, and thank you everybody for listening and watching. It was a pleasure, and I've got another one in an hour and a half, so I've got to start prepping for that one. So yeah, again, thank you so much, Brent, and everybody. Check out Web Tennis on YouTube and subscribe, and we'll see you again soon, and hope to connect again soon as well, Brent. So great seeing you.
We will. Thanks, Maribon.
Thanks, Brent. See you, everyone.